Hi there, this video is to help you with IB History, Paper 1, Question 2, the document evaluation. I've based the model on option 3, rights and protests, focusing on the civil rights in the USA. The source that I'm going to analyse I took from the Street Law website and their lesson plan on Brown versus Board of Education, and you can see the full citation later in the PowerPoint. So OPCVL, what you're really looking to do is link the origin, purpose and content and say why those three things make the document valuable, and then have a look at the origin and purpose. And so sometimes you can do content and see what problems or limitations there are with it. So I'm going to take you through a step-by-step process to do a document evaluation. It's always worth 4 points on the IB paper, so that should give you an idea of how much you should be writing. In the exam you want to spend no more than 15 minutes, you should really be aiming for about 12 on the question, and you're probably looking to write about 6 or 8 sentences, but certainly it's going to be a time-limited issue. This is the source that I've chosen. As you can see, it's from a newspaper. It's an editorial comment, so you don't have a named author, and that can be one of the challenges sometimes. In the IB, you're always given the information about where it came from, who made it, and when it was made. So press pause now and have a read of the source and familiarise yourself with it. As you begin to kind of build your answer, you want to just be able to make sure that you can identify the origin, purpose and content, and you can build this into your answer as you do the evaluation process. You're always given enough information to answer the origin question sufficiently, and look for where the source originated, not where it was found. So even though I found the source on the Street Law website, it actually originated from the Boston Herald in May 1954. Jot down for yourself, if it helps you could start your answer in this very straightforward fashion, but you'll need to come back to this later, obviously, to link it up to value and say why these things are valuable. So it's up to you if you want to write a couple of sentences like this. It can just help you kind of get your head straight and organise the thinking process. For purpose, you're going to have to think a little bit more, and I would suggest now that you press pause and have a go at doing this part yourself. And you might have come up with something like this. Who made it? Why was it made? Who's supposed to see it? And of course your answer is going to depend on whether the fact it's a public speech, a private diary entry, a letter. Remember, most politicians and presidents, even if they're writing diaries and private letters, would expect one day that their thoughts would become public or published. In this case, though, it's published widely in a newspaper, and the editorial section of the newspaper is the usual kind of what we think. Again, you'll need to link this to a value and limitation. You can do that later on, or you can build it in later, and I'll show you that in the model also. Content can be a little tricky, and I would just give you a little health warning that you shouldn't really just be copying out and restating the contents of the document. You need to think about it and probably try and make some inferences. If you go back and have a look at the document, have a go and think about what you can infer from the content. Press pause now and have a go. So you might have come up with some ideas about it being a decision after a long period of time, that there's a mood for change that the Supreme Court has reflected, and that segregation issues are, directly related to constitutional issues. So something that's kind of a little bit more than a restatement of the content and putting together some of the ideas. This is where the thinking happens, and this is the part where you earn your points on the IB exam. Here are some questions that can kind of prompt you into kind of getting yourself together and thinking about what type of ideas that you might want to do. So come back to origin, purpose and content, and come back to how this adds value for you as a historian in investigating the civil rights movement and Brown versus Board. Press pause now and have a go at writing a couple of sentences about the value that are linked to origin, purpose and content. So you can see here in this brief model that I've written, and you'll probably need to try and write a little bit more as you could put your answer together, that I've used the keywords in the question. This kind of helps you stay on target with what you're trying to do, and it also makes it obvious to the examiner that you know what you're doing. So it's valuable because of where it comes from. Even though Boston is in the north of the US, it shows that these issues were traveling far and wide and people were thinking and talking about them. And I've also used the content there as well to come back to something that we were talking about earlier. Remember, not just a simple restatement of the content, but some kind of conclusion based on it. Limitations can be a little more tricky to handle, and sometimes content doesn't always work for limitations, and I'll explain why a little bit later, but you can definitely link origin and purpose back to limitations. So press pause now and have a go. So here are some ideas that you might include. Again, I've used keywords or types of phrases that would direct you back to the keyword to make sure that you stay on target, and also let the examiner know you know what you're doing. Obviously, Boston is in the far north. It's a northern newspaper. And second of all, editorials don't just always reflect reader opinion. Sometimes they try and shape it. So again, that could be a challenge. We don't really know whether the people of Boston supported it or whether it's just the newspaper. So limitations can be a little bit more tricky. One of the challenges can be in the document evaluation is that you want to criticize the document for not telling us something. And this is why content and limitations can be a bit tricky. It isn't fair to criticize the document from the Boston Herald for not telling us what people in the South thought. It isn't its intention. So as you're going back to analyze limitations, think about the purpose and think about what the document is trying to do. If it promises you a full investigative analysis of attitudes in the South and you don't get it, then yes, you can challenge it. The title of the document, the article title or the name of the book is always a good clue as to what the author is intending with their piece. So have a look at these two. One of these is a valid value that might earn you a little bit of a way towards a point, and one of them probably won't. So have a think about which one would work and which one would work less well. Okay, absolutely right. It's valuable because the Herald was a popular newspaper in Boston. It was well read. As you can see, like I was saying earlier, that first reason on the slide there is simply a restatement of a fact from the document. So it's not really going to help you. It's not wrong, but it's not really going to help you earn any points. What about these two? Again, some limitations here. Which one works and which one doesn't? And again, it's the second one that doesn't work. Again, it isn't fair to expect the document, a brief editorial, to give a full-on legal analysis. So hopefully that helps you move your way through the document analysis process. Good luck with IB History. Thanks for watching.